Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 3-Minute Marketing, where we interview some of the world's leading growth marketing minds and condense it into 3-minute value bombs. I'm super excited today. We've got Rob Gonzalez, co-founder and CMO at Resourceful. Resourceful is a commerce experience management platform that empowers brand manufacturers to win on the digital shelf. Prior to that, Rob has had a really interesting career. He's run product management. He's run marketing. It sounds like you're a classically trained programmer. You spent some time at IBM, so very impressive individual and exactly the type of growth unicorns that we love to have on the show. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, so happy to be here.
Yeah. So, hey, man, one thing that has stuck out to me about you and Resourceful, obviously you guys have grown tremendously in a short period of time. But you seem to do a lot with the marketing resources that you have, like just based on, like the pipeline dollars per person, for instance. If you looked at that as a metric, I think it's exceptional. What are some of your secrets there? And that's when your time will start. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you one that I've been spending a lot of time on recently, a lot of mental cycles and whatnot as we scale up. We're going to be IPO scale this year. And so we're doing a lot of stuff to get there. And our gross bookings target is over 40 million in ARR. The marketing team is generating over 100 million in pipeline. So we're doing a lot of stuff at scale, but we're not increasing the team at the same rate of increasing the company goals. So the pipeline target's double, but the number of campaign managers and the marketing budget doesn't double.
Okay.
And so the strategy is like, how do you do more with less in a way? Mm-hmm. Or how do you get more scale out of the things that you're doing? What we do is we take time to create tentpole pieces of content. And sometimes it'll take 3 months for us to create a report, but then we can use that report in 100 different ways. And the way that you break above the noise is you do something of materially good quality. And that takes time, and it means going slower, and it means doing less. We don't do a lot of social. We're not on Facebook. We do paid search on Google and Bing, but it's really just evergreen campaigns that run on their own that you don't have to update that often, and so on and so forth. Our big view here is that we want to spend our time very intentionally on the few things that work and do it well. Part of the way that we do that is by making actual time for people to do work. A lot of marketers can have this frenetic energy where they're bouncing meeting to meeting to meeting, and they're meeting with sales, and they're meeting with product, and they're meeting with a PR agency, and it's like Zoom 30 minutes, Zoom 30 minutes, Zoom 30 minutes, email, and you just go crazy and you're not sure what works. And so what we do is we block huge amounts of time off during the week. Literally right now, 16 hours a week for the whole department that's unbookable by anybody, called focus times, where people actually have time to get work done. So if you're a campaign manager, you know exactly what you're supposed to be working on. The span of control that you've got in terms of focus is narrow, and you've got dedicated time to be able to get that work done without distraction. And that for us is the formula of scaling with relatively few people. Now, on top of that, the only final thing that I would add is, we've got a content team, we've got a product marketing team, we've got a community marketing team. There's a bunch of others that would contribute to growth and pipeline development. The way that those teams coordinate is not a bunch of back and forth emails like, hey, can you help me with this thing? I need content for this. Can you help me write an email? Like, where do I find this? It's not that stuff. Everything's done in Asana. Everything's done in workflows. Everything's done asynchronously. And it helps people be calm. It means that we can have quarterly planning, which is structured, which is not 1,000 back and forth emails, which gives all the campaign managers the focus they need. So in the way that the Navy SEALs like to talk is slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. And that's how we've been trying to operate.
I love it. Perfect. That's exactly 3 minutes. So that is the end of our official episode. Let's keep wrapping, Rob. Real quick, if folks want to learn more about Resourceful, what's the best way to do it?
Resourceful.com. Also, we have the Digital Shelf Institute as a community for brand manufacturers trying to win on the digital shelf. There's some excellent original research and podcasts there. So digitalshelfinstitute.org.
Love it. Yeah. And we'll include links to both of those things in the show notes. You don't by chance, are you familiar with Traction or EOS? Do you follow that? With the rocks and the data and the rhythm?
Nope.
but it's very much, it's EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it's basically like a growth, like a business operating system, but it functions in quarterly cycles, and they force you to focus by having what they call rocks. So each quarter you set certain rocks, and then all the activity flows from those rocks.
Yeah, that's the rock productivity concept comes from Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
You got the big rocks and the small rocks and the pebbles and the sand.
Yeah.
And who's the idea is like, focus on the big rocks.
Yeah. So how do you, one thing that I know that I struggle with is like, it's easy for me to get sunk into rabbit holes, and convince myself that it's useful. So like, for instance, some new feature in Google Ads comes out and I'll go and, read all about it. And next thing I know, 30 minutes later and 6 tabs later, I've completely lost track of what I'm doing. How do you stay focused during that focus time? Like, do you have any mental tricks or any other methods to just like, resist the lure of jumping into something that's, mindless, but potentially educational?
Yeah. So first, like I would highly, highly, highly recommend 2 books. One is Deep Work, and the other one is Digital Minimalism, both by an author named Cal Newport. He actually just has a recent book about workflow management within a company called A World Without Email. That's also excellent. So that's like kind of a trilogy of how to do, really intentional, focused, high quality work. Deep Work in particular talks about this topic. And what you really have to do is you've got to have an intention for the time. So for me, if I'm entering a block these days, I've got 2 little kids. I've got everything going on at Saucify, and I just don't have spare time, right? And the only hobby I have is that I exercise, and that's it. And so if I've got a block of time that I've set aside, 2 hours on a Monday or something like that to get work done, those 2 hours have got to count. I cannot make that time up elsewhere in my life. I can't do it in the morning because my daughter wakes up early. I can't do it in the evening because my wife wants to spend time with me. I can't do it any other time during the day because I'm in customer meetings and I can't be like, multitasking. Yeah. And so those 2 hours have got to count. So I enter those 2 hours and I've already assigned what those 2 hours are meant to do. So at the beginning of those 2 hours, I enter in, the 2 hours have a job. The job is create an analyst relations deck or create a pitch deck for us. I get invited to speak at manufacturing conferences as a thought leader on e-commerce. And it's like create draft outline for deck or gather statistics or materials for this presentation. Yeah. Or, here's 5 documents that the team has sent me to review over the last 2 days. Over this 2-hour block, I've got to read through, comment, review, give feedback on these 5 documents. So at the beginning of the block, it's like, that's the time that I've got. And I just know that I just cannot spend it wasted. It's got to be open the doc, work. And then at the end of the time, the time's over. Like there's not going to be more time. So
interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good way to think of it. So tell me about, as you guys began this, and I'm not quite sure, maybe you started this way with the large blocks of focus time, but how did you determine, or how do you determine on an ongoing basis what the best area of focus is? Is it just like a, thought exercise and a conversation, or is there some kind of methodology that you use?
Well, at Salesify, we use a methodology that we borrowed from Salesforce called V2MOM. V2MOM is vision, values, methods, obstacles, measures. And the way that V2MOM works is Jason, my co-founder, CEO, will have a set of methods, like 8 methods at the company level. The first method will be customer success, and it'll have KPIs around renewal, net dollar retention rate. The second method will be growth, and it'll have KPIs around gross bookings, new business logo growth and attainment, and so on and so forth. So it sets the company strategy. And then Mike, our president, who is the chief customer officer of Salesforce, he runs all go-to-market. He'll have a V2MOM for go-to-market, which takes the company methods and specifies what the go-to-market team is going to do. And then I'll have one for marketing. So I look at the company, and I look at Mike's V2MOM, and I say, like, what are the priorities for marketing? And so every quarter, it's clear for me, and it gives a lot of clarity. It's clear for me what are the metrics that I'm looking to move, and it's clear to all of my people what are the metrics that they're looking to move.
Yeah.
And so, in any given month, the question is, well, what are the things that I have to do in order to move those metrics, right?
Yeah.
So it's a classic plan your work your plan strategy. I think that what you're saying though is like if you try to make up on the spot what the most important thing is, you will fail and you will end up going down rabbit holes because it's unclear why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And if you're very intentional, starting from the top at what measure, where you're trying to go, what measures you're trying to move, and you break down the problem and you spend time and energy and thought planning your work, then it's clarifying as to how to spend that time effectively.
Yeah. I hear you. So you mentioned you're not much for paid search. You don't do much social. What are your top channels?
We will get, I'll give you a sense. Partners are becoming a big channel for us. They generated close to 2 million in pipe in Q1. Mm-hmm. Our BDR program, both for outbound and inbound, will generate about 60 million in pipeline this year. So the bulk of it is the BDR program. Mm-hmm. And that's on the back of really compelling events, webinars, content, research reports, and whatnot that they use in cadences to work, to get people engaged and with the company and the brand. Another 30 million or so comes just purely from inbound registrations, people asking for a demo and whatnot. And a lot of that is extremely strong SEO. We do paid search, but it's tight. It's not like a massive budget. Yeah. And so there's a very tight paid search program that we've got that generates some of that. And then we've got a content engine that produces compelling content, original research and whatnot that converts a bunch of people. And so that's basically the engine. For us, it's create compelling thought leadership content and then engage it with outbound cadences and then inbound honeypots. And that's really the whole funnel.
Brilliant. And I'm curious, as you think of the journey, from 2012 until now, did you discover, or did you have any major breakthroughs, or did you use any innovative sort of growth hacks? Like I'm thinking about Dropbox, how they were like, hey, refer a friend and get a free gig or whatever. Did you identify any real winners that just catapulted you guys to a breakthrough from a marketing and sales side?
No, not for us. We tried, we tried a couple product-led growth strategies, but the nature of the buyer in the space that we're in is that product-led growth strategies are not effective. Right. And so, it's not really a thing that works for us. We're more of a classical enterprise SaaS software. We're like a Salesforce, a ServiceNow, Workday, folks like that are reasonable comparables for the platform that we built. And so, the product-led growth really hasn't paid off. We've tried a few times, just hasn't paid off. For us, what's really worked is having a really, really tight revenue marketing, inbound plus SDR program, mm-hmm. and having them work hand in hand has been the most effective thing year in and year out. And so the formula is effectively spend time creating the best content in the industry. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks our content's the best.
Yeah.
Then with that best content, use it in a combination of inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Mm-hmm. And, that's it. That's been the formula. And then over the years, all you've got to do is figure out, well, instead of one webinar a quarter, you're doing 3 a quarter, then you're doing, 6 a quarter, then you're doing 6 a month. And, instead of just focusing on CPG, you're focusing on CPG and DIY and industrial and scientific and B2B industrial supply. Instead of North America, you're focusing on the UK and France and the DACH region and Benelux. And so the matrix of activities for us has grown as the company's grown, but the fundamental go-to-market motion of relying on the SDR team and a solid inbound base and solid content, that's been the same since day one.
Well, hey, man, I've really enjoyed this. Seriously, I have. You're a fascinating person. Congrats on all the success. I'll see you on the NASDAQ, I guess.
Hopefully, yeah. Keep your fingers crossed.
But yeah, man, I'd love to have you back if you're open to it.
Yeah, sure thing. Happy to. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it.
All right. Likewise. Good luck
Bye.
to you.